So I've been in the process of looking through and kind of sorting out all my wild camping equipment and bushcrafting equipment that I'm going to use. By the standards of what I watch on other channels, I've just thrown kit together, which works. I'm not looking to go out in the most inclement of weather. Um, I can bulk my kit up to allow me to do that. Um, but I don't want to, because the bottom line is, if you've been in the position of going out and having to go out in rather poor weather conditions as part of your employment, um, at this time of life, I tend to pick the better times of year and try to prepare myself to go at those better times of year. It makes it far more enjoyable for me, and on top of that, I really don't want to get, when I see people, with the headlines camping in -5, great headlines to draw people in, but why would you really want to put yourself in those positions? You're testing yourself, you're testing your equipment, fine, brilliant. I have no need to do that, and I'm more of a spring, summer, late autumn, through the woodlands, forests, the footpaths, and just put up a little bivvy and a tarp, and that's my home for the night. Carry on and come back. My cooking setups are extremely simple, although I am going to be making myself a firebox. I have the idea, it's pretty simple, I just haven't had the time to do it yet, which I'm going to do, and I'll probably take you along and should video it so you guys can see it. But I'll quickly run you through the absolute basic minimal kit that I have and I take, and I'll show you, and you can see for a British summer and spring, or late spring and early autumn, this is what I can get away with using. Standard British Army Bergen. Now with that I can load everything I need. I don't need the rocket pouches because I don't carry the stuff and I don't stay out for no more than 24 hours, although I will be doing a 3-day expedition this year across the moors to various locations. But that's basically what I carry stuff in. I do have a cover that I put over it to take the camo effect away, quite simply because people see you out wandering around with camo. Sometimes people have or can get a negative or the wrong impressions of what you may be up to and get a little bit jittery. So yeah, I've got a cover to go over that, so it just looks like I'm just a hiker. I have a drab green olive bivvy bag, so that's easily suggesting to you what I'm doing. Basically, I'm using this with a sleeping bag inside it, and I'll be using a tarp. Obviously a DPM British Army tarp. Fantastic pieces of kit. They're rugged, they're durable, and I'm not going out in monsoon weather, but I do obviously need to be prepared for damp or inclement conditions, like you should do if you're going outdoors. So this piece of kit is proven, it works, and I'm going to use it. Inside the bivvy bag, I will be using a Jungle British Army sleeping bag. This has served me well, and like I said, I'm not going out in winter conditions. And on top of that, if I have gone out in colder conditions or used it, I've actually used another sleeping bag inside of that, just an ordinary cheap civvy one, and the two inside of a bivvy bag has given me enough warmth for me to do what I need to do. But like I said, I'm not pursuing those cold experiences that other people may be looking to achieve, but this definitely serves me well in a summer late spring, early autumn mode, I can get away with all this and, you know, enjoy my wild camping or bush camping. For first aid, and now I've just carry a basic first aid kit. I carry an actual mess tin. I got my spork, a head torch, and I've got a compass, some bungees I take with me. I've got cordage over there I take, you know, and I've got various other items that I take along the way. These are my standard hiking boots. You know, if you know, you know, these do actually work. But like I said, everything I've got and I'm using is a mismatch, and basically I'm putting stuff together. So you can probably get the impression that I'm doing this actually on the cheap. Right, as for knives and that, for me, it's just a granddad's pocket knife. I will be taking this one. It has a lanyard which I can put towards, you know, threading through my clothing so I do not lose it at night. Top little tip there. Yeah, so that's going to be coming with me. Very old gas stoves. I have never bought anything new, and indeed I've taken these with me when everybody had all their modern pocket rockets and whatever they call them. These here have served me well, and I got a few looks and a few little laughs, but I was able to get away with them. So, you know, yeah, they do work and they do the job. I've got a ray. This is with the mess tin. I've got a stainless cup which I'm using indoors. I take with me. This just all goes into the actual bargain as well. I travel light. I carry very little. I carry an emergency set of spare dry clothes. I don't have an internal for that bag. I use this stuff here is so heavy. It's probably as tough as the liners themselves. It's that real heavy gauge rubble bags that you could actually put rubble from a building site in and take it to the dump. So yeah, but this is basically this part of my kit. I do have Gore-Tex, which is my, you know, absolute outer weather protection against rain and inclement weather. And I'll be probably taking something like this or a civilian version as a top coat. I'll probably take that to just kind of make myself seem a little bit less, you know, a little bit less of the grey man, shall I say, where you're out of the way and, you know, you're not seen to be, you know, out doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. So, you know, you can basically see I'm doing everything on the cheap, always have done, and that's the way it's going to be and remain for me. I appreciate if you're doing this as something where you want to be out in colder conditions or uplands and things like that. You know, disregard everything you see here. This is just me showing you how I'm going to achieve my little bit of wild camping, bush camping, bushcrafting, my getting out there in the wilds. And to be honest with you, this is how I've done it since I was a very young boy. I'm 52. It's always been on the absolute cheap. And I can understand a lot of people wouldn't want to do that. But if you've got the money, spend it on your hobby. This isn't my hobby. This is just me getting out there when the weather conditions are absolutely at their best. Like I said, I would not suggest for one moment use this if you're going into any difficult weather conditions or terrain. This is just me in the lowlands in Cornwall on the footpaths, just enjoying a little bit of time out in the countryside. Like I said, bushcrafting and wild camping isn't my total bag, but I do enjoy being out there doing it now and again to get that experience. Oh, that's my stainless mug. Yeah, I will not be drinking vodka, but it's a solid durable, and I do actually use that just on the gas burner to boil up enough water for me to have a drink. As you can see, like I said, I'm just throwing stuff together to get out there. So that was just a very quick check in to see what I'm doing just in the workshop today, just checking out my kits and stuff, and having a little look around. But yeah, as you can see with my wild camping kit and bushcrafting stuff that I will be taking with me on my little excursions, it's by no means inclusive. It's by no means what it should be if this is going to be something that you do. This is me just showing you how I bash together stuff, and I do stuff on the, how can I put it this way, on the cuff. It serves me, but it shouldn't be the inclusive kit that you should be expecting to take. It serves me because, like I said, I've been in and around the outdoors all my life. I know what I can get away with, and I know what I can use. For water carriage, I have 3 of these American styled water canteens. I always keep one with juice, which is the refreshing, pleasant drink, and the other 2 I carry 2 litres of water in there, and that'll be for cooking and actual doing brews. But I will probably take a 2-litre water bottle on top of that, just to supplement me, particularly if the weather is warm. So by now you're probably wondering, you've seen a sleep system, you're probably thinking, what am I doing about where I'm going to lie? Well, that for me is quite simple. It's a tarp, or a cheap tarp that will just go on the floor, and the operative word there is cheap tarp, and then I've got a contraption which I'm going to show you now. This is obviously a roll mat that I've modified in a configuration that I want. Now, it's been cut down sideways, left lengthwise, but you may just get to see it's been folded over like this to double up the thickness, even though this is a thick roll mat. Black nasty tapes there, and it gives me my shoulders to my torso, which has got the ability to rest on double thick foam, and this just finishes off down to just below my knees. Obviously my feet are then on the floor. Why would I want something like that when there's all these newfangled air beds, or even just a full length roll mat? Quite simply, this will fold down into a square and slot in the back of my Bergen there, taking up even less room without anything hanging and cluttering up to the side. And I am only ever out for 24 hours, 48 at the most, and I never really sleep fantastic anyway. But when I have had to use this and I have been totally chin strapped, I've still slept on it, and you know, if you're tired, it will work. So just to recap, it's double thickness, as you can see there. Put it against my shoulders, it's about shoulder width, and when I roll it down, it's down to my, where my bum sits. So that's adequate, and if I roll it right down, it's touching midway down my shins, the single piece. So that serves its purpose, just as like a quick throw together piece of foam to actually sleep on. It works. Like I said, I don't usually sleep that well when I'm out, wild camping, or even when I was doing a different profession. I never slept that well in the field. But yeah, so it does work. It keeps the cold off you, because obviously the main part of you, because it's double foamed, with a little bit of a layer of an air gap there. So it does allow, a little bit of should we say retention of heat, or stopping the conduction of the cold straight into you. But by no means, this isn't something I would recommend if you're not prepared to should I say rough it a little bit. But this serves me in the capacity I want to use it, and like I said, I possibly do 3 or 4 times a year where I go out on the footpaths in nice conditions, and I don't really require the kit that people would have to allow them to manage the colder weather conditions. So this suits me fine. So getting to the point, or the point of sharp objects, and what I am doing, and like I say, I'm only really focusing on what I'm doing, with me showing you what sort of kit and what I use when I'm out on the footpaths. Axes or hatchets, they seem to go together if you're wild camping or bushcrafting. This is pretty much a common item, really, if it's and particularly if it's a nice expensive one. It seems to go with people. Do I require it? No. I'm on a footpath. I can be more remote than a lot of people who are in forests. My footpaths, I can be at least, I don't know, quarter of a mile or a mile from any dwelling, and on footpaths that possibly haven't seen anybody for 6 to 8 months, and where I'm squirreled away in a little corner. Do I need this? I ain't going to take it, because I'm on a footpath, and a footpath is for public use, and I do not need it, do not require it. I very, very, very rarely start a fire. Very rarely. And that will be a topic of a video that I will do soon, because it's something that nobody talks about, but I will. But anyway, yeah, that never comes with me. Nor does a handsaw, for wood. I don't need it. If I've ever had a fire, I can break up enough twigs, and with a little grandfather's pocket knife, process enough twigs the size of my thumbs just to have a little fire. My fires are no bigger than possibly 4 to 6 inches across. I don't have flames 12 feet in the air. I'm wild camping, so there is never any need for me to be processing wood, which will need that. Same again. This doesn't need to come with me. Probably a contentious one, because a lot of people would say a bushcrafting knife they would take with them. Yet again, I'm going to say that thing. I'm on a public footpath, and I'm squirreling away in, let's face it, not my property. If I'm in a corner of a field or a corner of a very small copse or wood block, I consider myself happy and lucky that I've done that, and I've got a little grandfather's pocket knife. I don't need anybody, no landlord, owner, a farmer or a member of public just stumbling upon me with one of these. I personally, that's my view anyway. So this possibly wouldn't come with me either. All that comes with me is that, and that will fill all the functions I need. As for my personal wear and things like that, like I said, it is boots, a couple good pairs of socks, underpants, a pair of combats, and 2 pairs of sports tops which wick away sweat, a nice coat, and a thick top that I can put on if I'm moving, and I sometimes even take a high-vis vest, depending if I'm going to be transiting through a lot of quiet farm lanes. The reason being, if you've got a 16-year-old lad in a tractor listening to his stereo, trying to text the girl that he's going to be meeting at the young farmers dance, you might just want to give him every opportunity to see you while you're trying to dive into the hedge to avoid him. So yeah, high-vis vest if you're transiting rural farm lanes isn't a bad idea. But any spare clothes I take, which is very minimal, will be kind of like an emergency warm kit. If I get really saturated wet, can't dry out, I've got warm kit to get into. So basically that will be as I'm wearing, but in a sealed plastic bag, and that will be at the very bottom of Bergen. That will be at the very bottom. Like I said, I'm only out for 24 hours, 48. If you were going any longer than that, you would have to consider things like, you know, spare underwear and t-shirts for hygiene purposes and things like that. That goes without saying. That's just, you know, Billy Basics, looking after yourself and stopping you falling foul to infections, you know, and that impacting on your health. But you have to think of your own personal safety, and that does mean that you do need to take some sort of emergency clothing if you should get wet, feel cold, so that you can put it on, and then have the ability to take it off to regulate your body temperature. But yeah, you do need an extra set of clothes. I bring along a flask, and it's, you know, a reasonable size one. I can fill that up and it will last me a fair while. Now, it's always good for your morale and be able to stop and have a coffee and enjoy where you're to. It's only something that I've picked up from a hardware store. No money involved, and it's just a Billy Basics flask. So all I'm going to say here is I plod out the footpaths. It might encroach up onto the higher ground, the moors, and it definitely will be down in the valleys, along the rivers and through the agricultural fields, and that is where the footpaths for me take me. And I can make a whole raft of different combinations of those footpaths to take me to whatever environment I want that I have available here in North Cornwall. So the kit I have suffices for that period of the year that I'm using it. And I've said, you know, it is, you know, late spring, summer, going into early autumn. From there on afterwards, you know, I'm hiking or walking. I don't really want to stay out in it. I've done that, you know, that's the thing of the past for me. I might, you know, at some point, but it's nothing that I have a burning desire to do. So my throw together kit, I'm just going to use Billy Basics, almost amateurish setup. Just does it. And it gives me enough where I can, because I'm not like most bushcrafters or wild campers who the primary objective is to get to the point where they're going to practice those skills and set up camp. My primary objective is to go for the hike, and I'll set up and I'll continue that hike and do a loop and then come home. That is almost a bigger part than the staying out. That just adds an extra flavour or dimension to me being out walking or hiking. And like I said, I won't do this very often. Like I said, 3-4 times a year at most. Right then, even though a lot of the areas I will have pre-planned, pre-thought out, and I'll be linking up footpaths I may have individually walked, so I may even be just treading ground that I've done already. But because I may divert off and go into a valley I don't know to come up the other side and skirt around somewhere to join another footpath to bring me back, just because I've been barred access due to farm activity, or basically I just fancy going off piste. A map. I always take a paper map of the area. It's in a waterproof cover, a piece of paper, and I will, you know, keep a pen and a pencil and a rubber in there. Any, you know, waypoints or any navigational, shall we say, measurements or navigational things I want to write, you know, I write them here so I don't have to think about them up there. And sometimes I can do like a leg map, like, you know, leg 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know, you can pace out, use your compass, and basically, you know, if you've got it written down, it just speeds things up and can aid things. But navigation is something of a topic in its own right, but I'm just showing you what I take. Paper map, piece of paper, pencil, and obviously a rubber. Compass. Needs to be serviceable. This one, ironically, isn't. And anybody who knows about compasses knows that if the fluid has got like a bubble in it, it's not serviceable. And if there's no fluid in it, it's not serviceable. Ironically, this one will still point roughly north, but it's not serviceable, and it's not something that you should use. And mine will be being replaced because that, in all intents and purposes, is fit for the bin. But a compass, one little trick, if you're somebody like me who wears glasses, even if you've got a good pair of reading glasses, and you do get a magnifying part on the compass, I carry a little plastic magnifying glass. It just helps me out with the maps, no end. Rather than me squinting and doing that and getting the compass and trying to, you know, this just makes a big aid when I'm actually out there looking at the map. If you're not struggling to look at it, it makes all the difference. So a little compass, that is a top tip there. That really is a compass, and then using a magnifying glass, sorry, to go with it. Yeah, for map use. Yeah, big top tip there. Obviously, the phone that I'm, you know, using here, you've got your apps, and the phone itself, you know, has a rudimentary compass system in it, and you can use the various aspects it has in the phone for basic navigation. But as we all know, you shouldn't be relying on that because batteries, you know, deplete, you lose signal, you know, so basically they're fallible. A map and compass, providing it doesn't get destroyed by the environment, you know, that's pretty much a item that is there. I do have a Garmin watch, and I'm going to use the actual name because, you know, I think most people, you know what I'm going to be talking about if I use that word, the Garmin. I was given it on my 50th, and it's got like navigational stuff built into it, and everything like that. I do use it, but it's more to plot my my actual course, the times, and everything to that vein. But it does have navigational capacity of some degree, but I've never tested it out. I've relied basically 95% on map and compass, and the last 5% on shall we say apps and phone usage. But yeah, navigation, you do need aids. As for fire, I'm using just long. Don't ever bother with small matches. You do need a long one. The small ones, they're not. Give yourself every opportunity without burning your fingers. Yeah, so matches or a lighter. I haven't had a ferro rod for possibly 3 years. I lost mine and I haven't replaced it. I will do at some point, but not cool, eh? But hey, like I said, I'm out, shall we say, wild camping. I'm not in the Canadian outback and relying on being able to strike a fire with a ferro rod. But yeah, these are my two methods at the moment. I will get one because it's a skill and it can be fun. Can be frustrating, but it can be fun just making a fire using those methods. But at the moment, I'm just using these. So the outdoors for me has a little bit of background. Started when I was a very young man, possibly 8, 9, 10. I was out, shall we say, hunting and building shelters with my farmer friends, or farmer sons that I was friendly with, and we had a whale of a time. It was a idyllic setup for me in the countryside doing all this, and our setups ranged in every aspect from corrugated shelters, wood, hessian bags, plastic fertilizer bags, branches covered with moss. We explored all options, and it was a thoroughly idyllic, mixed in with a little bit of hunting and being out in the environment. It was, like I said, idyllic. That moved on to me as a younger man being out in the environment, primarily hunting at that particular point, but I was still out there and enjoying it. Then I moved to a profession where being outdoors is a large part of it, and I found that those experiences helped me massively because I was never faced by being cold, wet, sleep deprived, having to deal with whatever Mother Nature could throw at you. I positively kind of gravitated to that, and I actually went out of my way to seek those activities in the profession I'm talking about, rather than promotional activities and trade activities. I looked to be out in the field. Now, that came with its downside, obviously, because obviously I didn't promote, and on top of that, it's not the deemed way. I considered I was doing what I wanted, but I wasn't looking after my career. But anyway, bringing me back to the point of being in the field, yeah, I thrived in that environment. I was never going to be leader of the pack, if I'm going to use that terminology. But I was able to be the grey man. I was just going about my business, enjoying it, enjoying being there, learning, and, I was functioning fully well as an individual in that environment. And, I did see people who I considered better physically and mentally prepared, not able to withstand the rigours of the environment like myself, and that's partly due to the conditioning of my early years and learning to enjoy it. So I never felt that this was something of a grind. It was something I actually enjoyed. So that's a little bit about where it's led me now, and obviously I've got nearly 30 years plus of surfing, which meant being out in the cold water, winter surfing. The environment has always been there for me at its rawest, so I'm happily able to go out into the environment with that kit I've shown you and survive for a very limited period of time. Having said that, that might not be the case for you, and I strongly suggest, and I'm going to say this, that the bushcrafting schools and classes that you can see, or people who are experienced in camping, outdoor activities and that, should really be your first port of call if you have no experience or limited experience, to source that knowledge and even go with people who have that experience for personal safety, personal growth and education, till you feel comfortable that you're able to safely look after yourself out in the outdoor environment. So I'm going to wrap that up and just say, you know, I'm going to take you along on some of the footpath expeditions where I will be staying out overnight doing limited wild camping and bushcrafting, but that isn't the primary goal. That's just a supplement to my walking and hiking. That, in effect, allowing me to stay out an extended period of time. So, yeah, this is Andy from Folklore Hiking Sticks, and yeah, we will be out on the trail together at some point.